Welcome to the Honest Psychologist podcast, where two licensed clinical psychologists have joined the chat. I'm Dr. Whitney Graff.
I'm Dr. Paige Hover. We bring our years of expertise to the conversations you're already having, breaking down the topics shaping culture, social media, and everyday life.
No psychobabble, just relatable discussions about how our minds work and why it matters. Hey, Dr. Hover.
Hi, Dr. Graff. How are you?
I'm good. You think people would think that we actually called each other that, like in real life?
Not in real life, no. But here, we're doctors.
Absolutely. I actually remember back when you and I worked at the same place, and you had told me, like, you should come work here. It's going to feel like kind of like growing up almost, because it was a much more autonomous, like independent sort of role. And I remember our boss there, if she saw us in the hallway, would sort of say like, "Hey, Dr. Graff."
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, this is grown up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's important. I've gone back and forth of if I want to be addressed that way and more often like in professional settings, and I feel like it always feels a little uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, like, I'm Dr. Hover. I'm cool with Dr. Paige as well, but I think some acknowledgement around the accomplishment is always helpful.
If I worked with kids, I'd probably be Dr. Whitney. I kind of get that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, kids, this is Dr. Tim. He's your eye doctor, know, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's not scary.
In college settings, a lot it was Dr. Paige, but
Oh, really?
yeah. Well, everybody always gets my name wrong anyway. My last name, they always think it's Hoover or Hover. Hover, I can totally understand. The double O's that just magically appear. That's like, always baffled me.
That's just like a brain trick. It's like your brain is filling in something that's not there.
My favorite is the email setting where it's always spelled with two O's. I'm just like, nope.
You're going to get less of that now that AI is going to write all our emails, though.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think, because I think it's going to read, like, it's going to know who the recipient is and be like, here's a suggestion.
Yeah, I hope so. Even though Dr. Hover is in my email name.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
It does make me worried sometimes that emails don't get to me because people are putting two O's accidentally and wondering why I'm not responding. So if that's anybody out there, if you've ever sent me an email and I haven't responded, double check. It only has one O.
That's right. What's our email at the Substack?
It's the Honest Psychologist one. The Honest Psychologist at gmail.com.
I think it's Honest Psych Pod at... Oh, okay.
We're terrible at this.
Okay, we'll look it up and we'll get back to you. You're doing well otherwise?
Oops, sorry. Yeah, doing well. I didn't realize the post that we were going to be talking about had some sound to it, and I was clicking on it so it didn't go away, and then it started.
It sounded like sort of an ominous sort of ambient kind of.
Well, even the first page of the post is a little weird. It has like 6 faces looking down at you, and it's like.
You want to dive in?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, that does look strange. It's like 6 like almost
AI robot faces looking at you.
Almost like like aliens or
Okay,
so where did you find this?
Another, I think somebody we went to grad school posted with it, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm looking at that. And it's a thread of, well, it's not threads, but it's a thread of posts where it says ChatGPT was asked what the most brutal truths in psychology were. These were the answers. And the specific prompt that was given, this was given to ChatGPT. You've read every psychology study and every psychological thinker and philosopher. What are the 5 things that everybody must understand about their own psychology or they risk failing at life? I think that's a little bit of a dramatic answer, but so they gave a little bit of drama back. If you wanted a single brutally distilled psychological survival kit, something forged from the thousands of studies and the deepest ideas from Freud to Frankl, Jung to
Daniel Kahneman.
Here are 5 truths you must understand about your own mind or risk being sabotaged by it. Again, a little dramatic.
I don't hate the risk being sabotaged by it. And part of it is that I love Daniel Kahneman's work. So he won
Okay.
a Nobel Prize for what became termed behavioral economics.
Oh,
And he and Amos Tversky almost kind of like stumbled on this.
that sounds familiar. The behavioral economics. Yeah.
Yeah, where everybody had been assuming that people made totally rational decisions based on a good understanding of like probability when they made decisions in their lives. But they just started experimenting, like just started asking groups of people a question. Okay, well, if you could do, this and the risk would be that, or you could choose this other thing and the risk would be this other thing. And they would put these people in a choice where their mind would just tell them to pick one thing, and it would work over and over and over again. It just seemed like that was the less risky, more beneficial choice. But when you actually work out the math, it's not.
Uh-huh. It reminds me of like social psych, like in the sense of I always found social psych to be so fascinating because it really exemplifies exactly what you're thinking. You think that your mind is going to go one way, but the social psychology aspect throws a totally different like wrench in the ballgame, which is kind of, the heart, like a theme of these posts. And the first one is your brain lies to you constantly.
Yep.
So it says you're not a passive observer of your reality. You are a narrator. Your brain invents stories that feel true, but are often built on cognitive biases, emotional residue, and past wounds. Knowing this lets you question your reactions instead of obeying them.
Read the first part of it again. This is from the post we're referencing.
Your brain lies to you constantly. You're not a passive observer of your reality. You are a narrator. Your brain invents stories that feel true, but are often built on cognitive biases, emotional residue, and past wounds. And what I like about this post is it's, ChatGPT is doing this little, search of all this, research or things that are, I don't know if it's research, but there's information that they're sorting through, which is like, okay, so like these are the common themes. And I mean, we tell people this all the time that like, yeah, your brain is not 100% correct. And I think that is very unsettling at points, but also very liberating at points to be like, oh, I mean, I tell people all the time, sometimes thoughts are just thoughts. It's just words that come together and it doesn't always hold a meaning. We can make it have meaning. We can attach meaning to it. Sometimes it feels meaningful, but sometimes it's just nonsense.
Yes. I'm also simultaneously right now. Oh, I've read that other book, but I'm reading Ann Patchett. Do you know who that is? Mm-mm. I didn't really know her work. I think maybe I should have, but I'm reading a collection of essays that she wrote, and she is just so gifted as an essay writer. And she wrote one about going back and reading her early work.
Oh.
And it's basically this very long essay about the concept of cringe, about how cringy it is to go back and see your own work. Mm-hmm. But she comments at one point, I'm sort of looking for the quote here because it just absolutely hit me. I'd been afraid the stories of my youth would be as bad as my youthful poetry. I'd been afraid I'd somehow been given a life I hadn't deserved. But that's ridiculous. And she talks she has this sort of imposter syndrome that she names. And she mentions the sort of story that somewhere along the way I got confused about what I needed protection from. The short stories didn't turn out to be the problem. And just this idea that she had told herself a story that she had been this kind of charity case. Teachers, they just helped me because I was a really hard worker, but not because I was a good writer. Mm-hmm. There was nothing really good about what I was doing. It's just that they knew I had no B plan, that sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing there. There were like a couple of quotes in back, but this idea that she had a story about where she had come from. She had a story about who she had been. Mm-hmm. And I know what that's like. Yeah. To have a story about who I am and what I'm capable of. Yeah. And because you write that story yourself, you don't want to question it. Because what if I had to question everything?
Right. Right.
But realizing how ingrained a story about yourself has become to the point where you don't even question it, you don't even realize that it is a story.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think we're talking there about like our narrative or our perspective. And then I think it also, I can relate to our brain lies to us in just like little anxious thoughts that pop in our head every single day, you know, or how many times have we left a party thinking somebody's mad at us, or worry that we're going to have this one thing happen on a trip and it doesn't come, you know, like the fact that our minds just, they're not as sophisticated as we want to believe they are. And again, I think that's liberating and then a little jarring of just like, wait, but this is my mind. This is how I see myself. Imagine having your life narrative challenged a little bit, like of just like, no, actually that was, your brain was lying to you. It's like, ooh, that can be a little unsettling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we're talking about your brain can lie because it can misrepresent statistics and statistical odds. And so when you're faced with like choice A or choice B, most people really don't intuitively understand odds. Your brain can lie to you in terms of your personal narrative.
Yep.
Who you are, what you're capable of, where you're going. Your brain can lie to you just moment to moment to moment to moment to moment.
Yeah, I swear I turned off the stove. No, you didn't. Are you sure you didn't? It's like, brain, stop lying to me.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
I mean, that's one of the truisms in anxiety treatment is anxiety lies.
Yes. And I talk to people a lot about how it can be very cunning and really want to stick around. It's like, oh, but no, you need me. So I'm going to really burrow in, or I'm going to really make you think, or I'm going to try to get louder. I remind people of that a lot when you're trying to get rid of, well, I don't work to get rid of anxiety, but when you're trying to manage anxiety, it's going to get loud once before you like have a handle on it, because it realizes it's losing its power a little bit.
Oh, yeah. All right, what's the next truism that ChatGPT, a total expert in all things psychology forever and ever, says?
What you avoid controls you. Avoidance feels like relief in the short term. Very true. But every time you dodge discomfort, you strengthen fear, shame, procrastination, or resentment. Healing, growth, success all require learning to lean into discomfort on purpose. This was one of those moments where I was like snapping in the air and being like, yes, louder for the people in the back.
Well, I mean, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
What you avoid strengthens. So if you're afraid of something and you try not to encounter it, it's going to take on an outsized proportion.
Yep.
And it's going to start to seem scarier based on your lack of experience with it.
Yep.
And that is sort of the basis of a whole range of treatments, whether they be for anxiety, for trauma,
Depression too.
Yeah, even depression, right? Because the more that if you get stuck in a depressive cycle and you start avoiding the outside world, you're going to stay in a depressive cycle because there won't be any sort of new inputs on you to lift your spirits or show you a new way of looking at the world.
Yep. And just the physicality around that, right? Like if you are stuck in a depressive state and you're not, leaving the bed, and then you get tired, it is exhausting to get out of bed. And that confirms that cycle of like, well, this is exhausting. Maybe it's not worth it. And it's like, no, you got to work through that discomfort in order to do that, not let it reinforce over and over again. But it's so hard. I always joke that like the type of therapy that we do, which is based mostly in like acceptance and commitment therapy, is such a hard sell because it's like, hi, come work with me. I'm going to make you feel worse before you feel better.
Yeah, we're gonna confront things more directly, the things that you really don't want.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I really have a lot of respect for exposure and response prevention. I don't necessarily consider it a specialty of mine just because I haven't really built out the infrastructure to do it with everybody in a really organized way. But that's the basis of it.
Yep.
Is, you know, that we get stuck through avoidance, and we treat it through the exposure part is like facing something that gives you discomfort, and then not doing a response prevention, not doing something to make you feel like better in the moment. You sort of stay with feeling uncomfortable, and either the discomfort comes down or you learn that the discomfort doesn't kill you.
Right.
Even if it doesn't come down, you get the chance to have new learning experiences.
Yep. No, and I think that that part stuck out to me too more recently, is I think that there's often this assumption that things are supposed to feel good. You're only supposed to kind of continue to do things that feel good, or like, I guess, you know, even too, like if people are talking about a job or a relationship or a move or whatever, I think there's, you know, this kind of assumption that like we're going to hit this like bliss state and then we're going to know it's right. And it's like, no, actually, there's going to be a lot of discomfort no matter what. And if you're going to make a move, or if you're going to do something different, you know, you have to assume that the discomfort is part of the plan and you're going to be able to manage it. And it's not this thing that, well, I should avoid it. Because if we're always kind of trying to avoid discomfort, we're not really going to get anywhere.
Yeah, fully agree.
Yeah. No, I think that, and it's also kind of, I think, goes back to that first point of like your brain lies to you, of just this like concept of, well, if it doesn't feel good, it's not right for you. And it's like, oh, that's so hard to, that's too simplified.
Yeah, or expectations. Your brain can lie to you about how it's going to be and be particularly certain of how it's going to be. Yep. A lot of the treatments will try to challenge those expectations. Like they'll have you rate, how hard do you think this is going to be? And then sometimes you might be right. Yeah, it was really, really hard. And then other times you'll find that it wasn't actually as hard as I predicted. And so I learned that my mind is not always an accurate predictor.
Yes. Yes. So then the third truth, you are not who you think you are. You're who you practice being.
My God, ChatGPT. Okay.
It says identity isn't fixed. It's a feedback loop of habits, roles, beliefs, and repeated stories. You shape who you are by what you do over and over, not what you wish were true. If you want to change your life, start with what you repeat.
Oh my God. That is profound.
Yes.
You are what you repeatedly do. Yeah.
So I'm trying to say, why does that feel so profound for you? If you were to explain to our listeners, why does that feel so profound to you?
Well, it overlaps. I mean, each one of these sort of like overlaps and iterates on the one before.
Yeah.
So it overlaps with that idea that your mind can lie to you in terms of who you are and what you're capable of. And so we can, as humans, we've got these brains. They're so capable of analysis, thinking. We can get so caught up there in our skulls, thinking. And we can assume that our self is somehow found up in that thinking analysis. And we can get attached to a story about who we are, and that can take on a lot of importance, all contained within our skull. You know, if I'm imagining, like, watch a person do this on a camera, what are they doing? They could just be sitting there doing nothing, but it's all happening inside their skull, where they're thinking and attaching to, I'm this person. So it could even be like, I'm an introvert. Okay, well, maybe there's something to it. You know, maybe you come by that impression through some analysis of how you tend to behave. That's fair.
Yeah.
And you read Susan Cain's book. Is it called Quiet?
I don't know.
I think that's right. And you really resonated with that. And so the story becomes, I'm an introvert. And there may be nothing wrong with that up until that point, and we have some research that shows that, people's personalities tend to prefer either, recharging alone or kind of seeking out energy from other people, introversion versus extroversion.
Yeah.
But then what about when we get really attached to I am an introvert? Does that start to foreclose possibilities? And if now we're looking at point number 2, if we've started avoiding social situations, or like maybe during the pandemic, we had to avoid social situations. Yeah. And so we were spending a lot of time alone. And then we're having a story that says I'm an introvert that may have some truth to it and also may take on a life of its own. Now you may find that when your friend says, I'm hosting a Friendsgiving, Paige is going to host.
We were just doing that.
Friendsgiving. Something in you says, oof, I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm thinking about that. And so then that can foreclose, like maybe I start to say no before I've even considered a yes to that. And I can reinforce it in my mind by saying, of course I would say no, I'm an introvert.
Right.
That's what introverts do.
Yeah.
And when I think about going, I have a little twinge of anxiety. If I listen to that, it tells me, no, stay home.
When in reality, it could be excitement. Maybe you want to go, but that's not what an introvert does.
Yeah, like maybe that little twinge of feeling is just a signal that this is a little different. And, then we make an interpretation inside our skulls that says that was anxiety. The anxiety tells me to stay home, so I avoid. The next time I get an invitation, it's harder to go out.
Yep.
And so then by repeating this pattern a lot, we start to be a person who's staying home a lot and maybe doesn't notice the loneliness creeping in. Maybe doesn't notice the other ways that this lack of social connection is impacting. And so I think what point 3 is trying to get at is that doesn't have to be fixed. It doesn't have to be your destiny, that this is the only way things can be because we're attached to the story, I'm an introvert. It can be that you have introvert tendencies and there are possibilities for more social connection. Did I get that?
Oh, no, I don't think there was a right or wrong. I was curious more on your opinion of it.
I mean, more like, did that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was more so profound in the sense of where I think that therapy can feel really uncomfortable, or getting feedback from other people can be really uncomfortable about yourself, because sometimes how you act versus the way you think you are, it doesn't always match. And that can be hard of like, wait, I've always understood myself to be this way, but instead my actions or my behaviors reflect something else, and how that can feel jarring sometimes, I think, to get that feedback, or where I think it's hard sometimes even to, be like, there's the self-reflection, but then there's the feedback from others, those are two different things. And sometimes they don't match, and sometimes that can be hard to hear what other people think or what they observe in you, kind of stuff like that. I think about that, how that's really powerful in therapy of, hey, I'm hearing you say one thing, but I'm actually observing this, and how that can be like, whoa, what?
That is really hard.
Yes. And sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a hard thing, but I think that's a profound tool. And then I think there's a lot of hope in that post of like, yeah, well, you can, if you want that identity to match your behavior or how you see yourself, well, there's action that has to happen with it. I also thought about what we talked.
Do you mind if I
go
jump
for
in
it?
on
Yeah.
just that last point? Like, you called it hope. And in my mind, I was tracking the exact same thing. And I was like, wow, that sounds really scary. That if you do find that there's this incongruence between how you want to be versus how you're acting, like, I actually really relate to that right now. There are some things about myself that I do want to change. And I am filled with dread. I probably am making a story. I'm probably making a prediction about how hard it's going to be. But there's like almost a responsibility that comes along with getting that feedback.
Yeah.
That you're not kind of congruent with how you want to be versus how you're actually acting.
Yeah.
So I do think there's hope in there.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of projecting my personal fear onto that right now. And I think it's both.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I can't remember if you and I were talking about it just offline or if we talked about it on the podcast last time, but I'm thinking about like action too, how it just, you can't change your identity or you can't change, you know, any kind of factor you're trying to change without action, right? And over time it's like practicing what you preach a little bit, you know, but action is really important to be able to match up to this understanding of yourself.
Was that the point that I interrupted you on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in ACT, we sometimes say, move your feet and let the mind follow.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That, like, take confidence, for example. I want to be a more confident person. So, unfortunately, you can't just find confidence from within when you can't find it. So you don't just come up with it out of nothing from within yourself and then go act confidently.
Yep.
In actuality, you go, you take a risk, you push yourself a little bit, test your comfort zones. And by doing something new, you gain confidence.
Yes.
So we're like, take action first. Take your mind along. Your mind says, I can't do it. I can't do it. That's not who I am. You know, it's not possible for me. And you say, well, we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And it's only through doing that action that the confidence comes.
Yep. For sure. Confidence. I hear that a lot. I'm like, well, I'd like to be more confident. It's like, well, that's an aftermath, you know, like you only reflect back and go, oh, I was confident, or other people reflect to you, wow, you seem so confident. Confidence is not something that you just gather and muster.
No, you don't just come up with it out of nothing. If anything, you might kind of realize, oh, that presentation went well. Yeah, it did. Because I've done that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You know, I've done a slide deck for, you know, a new client or a sales presentation, but I've done a lot of them.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, that went well. I know how to do that. I know how to give that slide deck because I've done it over and over and over again. Maybe some of them weren't winners, but now I have the confidence to do it because of the practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4 says you are wired for emotion, but built to regulate it. I really like this one. Feeling your emotions is not enough. Mental health comes from being able to name, hold, and use your emotions, not be hijacked by them. The unregulated feel stuck. The regulated move forward even when it's hard. So I really like the first just words, right? You're wired for emotion, but built to regulate it. And I think so much about anger in that, yeah, we are meant to feel, not meant to feel, I guess, maybe.
I'd say maybe we are.
We are.
Evolutionarily.
Yeah, anger's there. But I think there's often, it gets a bad rap, you know, obviously. And there's a lot of ways of, well, how do I control anger? How do I do this? And a lot of the anger management stuff I've seen is mostly to try to just get rid of anger. Well, don't feel angry, kind of stuff like that. And then you won't have these moments where you burst out or try to control the anger in the first time. And it's not that we're trying to control the emotion. We're trying to control what we do with it. You know, you are allowed to feel angry. You don't need to break the chair when you're angry.
Well, yeah, because then it goes on to say, knowing what you feel, deciding how to act within the feeling. Because we did a whole podcast episode about like what good are emotions, how they have served a purpose over the, you know, thousands of years of human evolution. They are here because they serve us. They actually give us really important information.
So much important information.
When you feel that flash to anger, we can treat it as it's almost like a bit of information has arrived. A message has arrived. You know, it doesn't have to be, I I don't want my body to ever do that.
Right.
Because actually, it's not a real good situation when if you somehow have a person where, I don't know, maybe they've had some sort of like brain injury or something, and they're no longer able to feel anger or fear or drive, motivation. That actually becomes sort of a clinical problem.
Yeah.
In actuality, I think this post is right. We are wired for emotions. And then, as we develop maturity from being little kids who have zero control over their emotions, like the process of development as a person is to learn to harness your feelings in pursuit of your goals and the kind of person you want to be.
I also think about it a lot in the workplace, how I think there's a lot of messages around, professionalism is emotional. And I think that there's, working with a lot of people who have burnout, I teach them how to listen to their emotions, but they really struggle with listening to it because well, what do I do with it then? Am I allowed to be mad in the boardroom? Am I allowed to cry at work? Am I allowed to any of these emotions, be jealous of somebody's promotion, any of that stuff? And I teach people how to listen to that and understand, well, what is that telling you? If you are crying in the bathroom at work, something's overwhelming. Something is too much. Something is, that's a sign, and it's not, you don't want to stuff that away. And I don't think even for, bosses to, employees, as bosses, we don't want our employees to not have emotions because that tells us something too of, well, how are we managing them? What's their workload like? All of that stuff. Is that fair? Any of that stuff. But I think professionalism gets obviously assumed with emotional, and it's hard to listen to that because then it's well, what do I do with it? And it's well, you got to listen to it. Each emotion is going to tell you something different, and there's different ways to manage that, but we can't stuff them out.
Yeah, it's making me think of there's this treatment called radically open dialectical behavior therapy, or RODBT. And it's specifically aimed at people who have high levels of things like perfectionism and self-control. And one of the techniques in there is to purposely try to lean into the area that made you angry, made you upset or jealous, and actually start asking questions like, what is this trying to teach me? Or what would be really uncomfortable for me to admit about this situation? And trying the purpose, they actually talk about sort of walking up to your edge, sort of the edge of your discomfort, seeing how if you can get close to it and peek into that and say, what is this trying to teach me that I'm resisting learning?
Yeah.
Because to one of your examples, if it's hard to explore that feeling of complete overwhelm, it might be because deep down secretly you're saying, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so then I don't want to admit that to myself. Maybe that means I have to look for a new job and I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, the overwhelm is here.
Yeah.
The emotion is here. It's a messenger. So yeah, I mean, I think this, bullet point really gets to that about don't treat emotions as an enemy.
Yeah.
But do allow yourself that maturation process of learning to harness them, learn from them, take them as they come. Yeah.
I remember as I was going through training, I would get feedback that I would, that the tears were not helpful in different,
What do you mean?
So when we were in grad school and we would do, our practicums or whatever, I would get this feedback of well, you cry and it's not really helpful. I think
yourself?
Yeah.
You're crying?
And it wasn't until my internship where we were sitting down and one of my supervisors was asking us, well, what's some feedback that you've gotten? And, tell me more about that. And so I was well, I've gotten feedback that I cry and that it's not always helpful. And that
you don't mean you cry in the session.
It was
with
like
the
more in like
patient?
training, right? Like as a in professional settings, or like if I was getting in a supervisory meeting or something like that. That like, hey, like when I'm trying to give you feedback, you cry and it's not helpful, or if you're overwhelmed, you're crying. You know, like you're coming to me
Gotcha.
after a session or a long day, and it's like I'm trying to, you know, give you feedback or support, and you know, I don't understand, like you should just not be crying as much, kind of thing. Like just don't cry as much at work, kind of thing. And so we were exploring that. She gave us all permission to kind of like, what's this feedback that's really uncomfortable, and like, I don't know, what is that telling you? And so I thought about it and we talked about it more. And I finally was able to conclude I cry when I'm overwhelmed and I need it to stop. And the tears are telling me, I don't know how else to put this into words, but I'm reaching a point where I need a minute. Either I need a minute, like a break for the day, or I'm frustrated and I can't explain to you anymore what I'm trying to say. Maybe I don't fully understand what I'm feeling, or what the roadblock I'm at, and I don't have the words for that.
And as a trainee, like, you know, you're learning this skill and you're experiencing other people's, like clients, you know, lots of their feelings and stuff and their stories. And so I'm picturing you at the end of a long day, not only having to be somebody who's learning something new, but who's also being inundated with other people's,
Right.
you know, emotional input. And I
Exactly.
can picture the overwhelm, the
Yeah.
fatigue, and like that emotional
Yeah.
blend.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was so helpful for me to learn, because it's like the tears were communicating, I need to stop, right? I need to take a beat. I need to stop for the day. But it used to carry so much shame for me. It was like, oh, don't cry, don't cry. And I could feel the tears welling up. And it's like, well, just stop crying, just stop. And I didn't know what I was needing in that moment. But now it's easier to lean into that and understand, what is this trying to tell me? Okay, my tears are trying to speak for me, that it's a very external indicator to others that like, whoa, we need a break, kind of thing. So learning that through that year, I was able to, if I was feeling the tears coming up, I was like, I need to stop. Or I'm hitting a roadblock, and I could take a minute and be like, can I come back at this in 5 minutes? Or knowing how to structure my day a little bit better, you know, kind of understanding, hey, I think I need to have more clients on the front end of the week and less on the end of the week, because I need a break, kind of stuff. So that's an example where I hope that listeners can kind of take that as like, hey, like that's what my emotions told me. And if I was so focused on just regulating it before understanding it, it wouldn't have been quite the same learning experience.
Yeah, sounds like you really got something valuable out of that.
It was great.
Once you really looked at it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so number 5, you will suffer either way, so suffer for something worthwhile. There is no life without pain, but there is difference between meaningless pain and meaningful sacrifice. Purpose doesn't, and there's a little... Okay. Purpose doesn't remove suffering, it gives it reason. Avoiding suffering is a dead end. Choosing it wisely is the path to power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit of Buddhism sprinkled in there.
Values work with acceptance and
Yeah.
commitment therapy. Like there's a reason why we tolerate discomfort for things that feel worth it.
Yeah, I mean, even like we were talking about exposure and response prevention, but even that, especially in its current version, we will steer people towards exposing to things that they need exposure to in order to live their lives fully. So we don't, this has evolved a little bit, but now we try to ground it more in how can we get you out there, you know, functioning either at your job or at home with your family, the things that matter most to you. So do the exposure in the service of, you know, that. That's sort of a clinical application where you would do something hard in treatment in order to kind of like engage better with your life.
Yep.
I mean, I think even outside of a clinical setting, you know, if you care about something,
Yeah.
at some point or another, it's going to piss you off.
Yeah.
You know, if you are involved with a, if you're volunteering at your kid's school, at some point or another, that is going to test you.
Yeah.
But maybe you're volunteering because you really care. And so, we talk about how like everything has kind of like a flip side. If you care, you will suffer with it because it comes built together.
Right. Yeah. And I like how it's been acknowledged a couple times in the different threads, but I think that the importance of pain and discomfort, and like, we don't want to just get rid of it. I feel like the mental health world for a minute was focused so much on, well, let's make people feel better. Let's good things, drive them towards things that feel better. And it's like, well, sometimes stuff that feels meaningful is hard, or it's uncomfortable, or it comes with discomfort. I remember I worked a lot in college counseling, and I would talk with people about like relationships and stuff. And it's like, well, it's just not great all the time. And it's like, well, relationships aren't great all the time, like sometimes we have moments where they're not great, but we grow with somebody, and that's important, and I think if we're only driven by like, well, it feels good, we're going to have a very different experience in life than if we're, okay, this kind of sucks, but is it worth it? Does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Is this a temporary discomfort? Is this something that is a growing pain? I remind people all the time of growing pains. There's a reason why it's called growing pains, because growth is uncomfortable kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Yeah, if something matters to you, it will at some point cause you pain.
Yep.
And, we can endure the pain if we're moving towards something that is important.
And I think that also helps to discern, is this pain worth it, right? Because we don't want to say, well, we don't want to ignore pain. We want to understand it sometimes, and sometimes it is too much. Maybe this job isn't fulfilling. Maybe this relationship isn't for you. But I think if you have like a zoom out ability, and you can kind of zoom out and be like, well, does this matter to me? Is there some meaning attached to it? That I think can help to discern what feels like this is like an okay amount of pain versus like, hey, this is too much, maybe I need to walk away kind of pain.
Yeah, and I think it's about kind of your baseline assumption. If we assume that life is supposed to be painless, and that's what we're supposed to be going towards, then our mind, our psychology is going to throw up big, flags to say, you're in pain. That must be a problem because you're supposed to be going towards a painless life, pain-free existence. Whereas if you completely change that assumption about what it means to live well, and we assume that living well includes some pain, or if you want to call it some suffering, discomfort, whatever it is, then it becomes a given. If you say, well, I'm in pain, it's like, yeah, that was a given. But are you doing something that feels important? It matters to you. Do you feel like you're being useful or of service? Do you, are you energized? Are you solving problems?
Yeah. All those things.
So I'm going to say this is like that time when social media, it's like a social media mental health post just nailed it right on the head. We don't see that very often. I think we're thinking of starting like a little like social media corner to the podcast where we bring ridiculous social media mental health ideas because we see so much.
Well, as soon as I saw that headline, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Totally so ready for it to just be nonsense and being like, wow, this is great.
That was amazing.
This is great. Good job, ChatGPT.
Right? And whoever originated this post.
Yeah, I don't know who originated because I'm sure it's like,
it's going around.
Yeah, it's like AI researches. It's some conglomerate.
You found it on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. It also strikes me as the kind of thing I'd find on LinkedIn.
Yeah, possibly.
By the way, did you hear that Illinois became the first state to ban AI therapy?
they did.
Yeah, Pritzker just signed it.
All right.
I know. I was talking it through with my husband over the weekend because a friend shared this with me. And I'm like, this won't stop people from turning to chat as their therapist. And I'm not sure that I necessarily support telling people how to use an AI tool that they like. That's not really my business, even if I do have concerns about what we were saying in another one about how it might reinforce delusional thinking or it might encourage you to hurt yourself. These are all things that concern us, but are very hard to sort of make illegal.
Oh, for sure.
But as I was talking it through, it's like, right, but this legislation will help, it'll help stop a company setting out to sell AI therapy.
Sure. Yeah.
That is like its mission from the start. Like, here is a product marketed to you as AI therapy when it is nowhere near ready to be that.
Yeah.
And then maybe it'll change kind of the liability, if AI is being used in a therapeutic capacity, maybe there's a difference in terms of how you can hold someone accountable if it does do those awful things we know it's capable of.
Yeah. I mean, I think my first reaction to it was great because I think it highlights, hey, like, proceed with a little caution. Just like be aware that this is, something that is maybe not all that it's cracked up to be at first. Just, do your research. Does it work for you? I think there's just like a little asterisk that it puts next to AI therapy where it's like, hey, read the label.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still do hold out some kind of hope that somewhere down the road, this sort of technology could help us somehow fill in gaps as far as treatment access.
Yeah, for sure.
Knowledge and information. Because we do still have problems with that.
Yes.
But sometimes people who need, the most psychiatric care are sometimes the least likely to get it.
100%.
Either because they can't access it, they can't pay for it.
Yep.
There are whole populations that people in our field just don't even want to treat.
Yep.
And so I think it's not. I will defend that I don't think it's out of the question to think that somehow this technology in the future will be able to help with those gaps, but we are not there yet.
Yeah. No, it's just like putting a little yellow around it. Be like, hey, we don't 100% know what's going on here. So let's not, put all of our eggs into that basket. And the price of eggs these days, we don't want to do that anyway.
Oh, you.
I spent $12 on eggs yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
It was an 18 pack of eggs.
And it cost $12?
It cost $12. It normally costs $10. And I was like, God damn.
I felt like I was seeing, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 recently, but that could be out of date.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
They were fancy eggs. I chose my pain.
Oh,
I get it. I got fancy eggs. I like fancy eggs. But the fancy eggs got real expensive. So we're going to have to rethink our life choices here. Any hoops. Yeah. So I think there's more to come on the social media. I think that a lot of our stuff comes from annoyance of like, did you see this on social media? But maybe we'll have more inspiring social media posts that we will be enjoying talking about and have good things to say about. But we're going to introduce that a little bit more.
Absolutely. All right. And I did look up our email for the podcast. It is honestpsychpod@gmail.com.
Yes. So that's our email. If you
let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah. We might even introduce some polls. We've talked about that too, of how to engage more of our audience, of questions or things that you want to hear about, or even posts that you've seen that you maybe want to, know more of a take from a psychologist. So yeah, that's how you get in contact with us.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Tune in next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for treatment of any kind.